Our guest runs an autonomous AI company with 100 AI agents and 0 human employees. Over the past 15 years, he has built software for BMW and Google. Today, he's here to share insights on how to build a brand using AI employees. Please welcome Gabe Campbell. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Daniel. Happy to be here.
Some of our family in Australia employ 550 humans in Sydney.
Is that right? Okay.
And that's a big team. But 100 AI agents, that's a whole new concept. How does that work?
Yeah, it's really fascinating because I have a very different view on AI than most people I've met. I see AI not as a threat or as a rival. I see it as a appendage. I see it as like a brain 2.0, or I see it as like a digital arm. And so with that, I use it to clone myself. People on AIOS can clone themselves as well, thinking about the way they see the world, things they care about, how they make decisions. And then you really see this AI as an amplifier. So, if you really have a creative spirit or you really have vision, it'll amplify that vision. That's if it's done right, right? So I see them all as mini extensions of me. I yell at them just the same as I yell at myself when I don't do something right. It's almost like my inner monologue has now shifted away from inside my head and is now this dialogue with these agents, and really remarkable. I'll tell you, a year ago, I would have said a lot of this stuff is a bunch of BS, but the truth is, like, you can actually show it a process and it'll just repeat that process over and over and over. It's really incredible.
I know for this podcast, your team, your AI team, had even booked you onto this show without your need for doing it yourself. When I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is bullshit. This is crazy. And a part of us, I think, when we see AI, we call it out in our mind, like, this can't be true. This can't be possible. Somebody's pulling my leg. Right. But if you know how to do it, and if it's an extension of you, well, why not have it book you on shows? I mean, that's just an incredible concept there of time saving immediately.
Yeah, it's. I think we're really at this pivotal moment where we're in a paradigm shift. This paradigm shift of the Industrial Revolution says, hey, humans are valuable because we do repetitive things, right? And that's how you dictate your economic unit. That is changing now. And then we're kind of scared and we go, uh-oh, I hate this thing. This is going to screw AI. But really, it allows us to become human again. Because were we supposed to be the guys going on the contact form and typing the stuff or moving the text box around? And is that really what humans are supposed to do? Honestly, I don't think so. I think we're supposed to have the vision, right? The idea, the excitement, the connection where we say our human judgment is irreplaceable. And so execution is replaceable. And so AI is stepping into that execution role. And what I've done with AIOS genuinely is to take my years of experience developing apps and developing AI and try to give that superpower to everybody else and say, what do you want to do with it? So the technology right now is the AI uses virtual machines. And if you give it credentials, it will run my email box. It answers all my emails for me. It surfaces things that it thinks I should be involved in. It will make outbound calls for me. I tell AIOS, I say, hey, book a dinner for me at this spot, between this range, it'll report back. Sometimes I call it, I called it the other day and I said, hey, me and my girlfriend were trying to figure out a movie to watch. Kind of thinking like maybe early 2000s rom-com. And it goes, oh, okay. Have you seen White Chick? And have you seen, some of these movies? And I go, I've seen those. Let's go something new. And they go, okay, well, why don't you see The House Bunny? That's a good early 2000s rom-com. I go, perfect. Hang up the phone. So it's what it has replaced is me going and searching on Google and doing this manual thing with a conversation. Same thing happens with my social media. It's cloned me, a video image of me, and it's shooting out scripts and autonomously runs my entire social media. Generates carousels, videos, and users can do the exact same thing. It looks at their site, goes, hey, do you got a company? You want to start one? What do you want to do? I'm here to help you. I'm your operating system. And, whatever it is that you want to do, make social content for you. It'll apply to jobs for you. That's a cool one. It'll actually tailor the resume based on the jobs it finds for you and then fill out the actual forms and submit the custom resume to that job. It obviously asks you like, hey, is this good, boss? But wild world, living it.
There's so many things there that as business owners or even people who have a vocation, there's things that we do and we like, but eventually we start to prefer other things like creating content. I like to create content and I loved creating content in the early days, but that passion is no longer there for sitting down and going through Canva and designing this and that. And I remember there was a big turning point for me maybe 10 years ago with the rollout of websites like Fiverr. Okay, I can get somebody else on the other side of the world to do this on my behalf. I can pay them $5 a gig, and the work that comes back is like 50 times better than I could do that. And I started to use that and I went, wow, that's a great service. And in a way, it was autonomous. There was a website and a platform. These people might have existed. That might have been their real name. It didn't matter. But what I knew was I'd give it an instruction, pay some money, and I'd get work back that saved me time and made me look a lot better. And that was a decade ago. Things like ChatGPT. I was using it yesterday and I was yelling at it, just like some bosses would yell at their employees. As you were mentioning before, you yell at your AI. I told you to do this. I'm giving it the same instructions over and over and again. And then I said to one of my team members, I said, you tell it what to do. And that system, although it saves us a lot of time, it can be frustrating as well. And what I'm hearing from you here is that what you're designing is even more customized. It's an extension of how you think. So it's thinking like you, but better, because it can be 100 Gabes at a time. Might be the AI calling.
It's actually, we will give the AI a call and we will yell at it together. It's a lot of fun.
We better. The world of work's changing. People are starting companies of one, and yes, they need help. I was using my AIOS last night, and it gave me a really good roasting. And the reason why I used your technology was, in all businesses, we have to reinvent ourselves. What worked yesterday or last year doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work today. But I know I get stuck in my own box of thinking. I can't think outside of my programming. And I went onto your website, followed the instructions, and it gave me a good roasting. And I felt bad about what I'd done. I felt poorly about my efforts. It was a slap in the face, but it was nothing that I didn't know, because I've been battling with this. But I had somebody else, your technology, show a mirror to what's not working. And I sat back and I said to my wife, I said, I just got roasted. This machine that knows nothing about me just told me all of these shortfalls in my world and on the internet. And she's laughing. She's going, that's so true. And it gave me a great baseline to think, this is what I know, but it's also a great confirmation. And then giving me insights onto why it's not working. So if you're open to it, would you show us how the technology works, but also use me as your case study? Because like a lot of businesses, I'm in the process of change. I've got a big whiteboard up here. I call it the war room, and I've got Post-it notes all over it. And I'm right now in the middle of a reinvention, and I've got to change my personal brand. I've got to look for a different marketplace, and I need a roast.
Hey, you came to the right place, Daniel. Jen always tells the truth and, has a little bit of sense of humor with it too, which I love. I actually roasted myself. I'm not the only person that got roasted. It said his engagement is so low, even his AI employees would quit. I thought that was a good one. I appreciate the fact that, this company, AIOS, I'm the only human here, but we're building it live in public. And in that way, it's basically saying, hey, we want excellence over ego. So I read all my DMs and I tell people, hey, let me know what's going on. Let's grow together. Let's build this together. Let's not put on this big facade like there's this big soulless company that you can't talk to. I'm probably going to take whatever you screenshot and just give it to my AI and say, let's fix this. So, that same idea goes into roasting, goes into building your brand, your company. We all want to grow. We all want to succeed, whatever that looks like. And so that's why AIOS is built. You can see here, you're on the homepage. It's right away saying, hey, here's some of the stuff I can do. I can make these ads. If you want to share
your screen again so we can see what you can see.
I got to share it one more time here. Let's see. Boom. There we go. You can see here saying, hey, I'm your AI operating system. I can apply to jobs while you sleep. I can clone you, your face and your voice. So we'll go to roast. We'll have a little bit of fun. Okay, and then Daniel, what are you looking to roast here? You want to do the Instagram? You want to do the website?
Well, I think we should do Instagram because I think, in my opinion, this is where a lot of people start. They start on social media. If I like what I see on socials, I might click that link and I might go to your website. And I've invested a lot of time and effort into social media over the years. I'm sure it's going to show us how many posts I've made. Videos on YouTube. I've uploaded more than 2,000 videos over the years of me talking head. And social media has always been a big win for me, but it's becoming more competitive and it changes so fast. So let's start with Instagram.
Okay, give it to me here. So it's Daniel.
It should be Daniel Tolson. Let me make sure it's right. Yep, Daniel Tolson. DANIELTOLSON. And you'll have to share your screen again.
Okay, let's see here. All right, Daniel Tolson. Here we go. Prepare yourself.
Oh my gosh. I have to put my diaper on and I shit my pants again.
That fast. 38. It's critical, Daniel. Oh, no. Uh-oh. 8,600 posts. 0.47 engagement. Your audience ghosted you 3,000 posts ago. No. Okay, let's see. So
the truth.
That's the roast. So it's looking at your positioning, hook strength. Your cadence is good, right? You're posting a lot. Engagement needs a little work. So here's what works. Relentless consistency. I mean, shoot, 8,600 posts. That's remarkable. A lot of people just give up. Consistency, you got to have it. Video first strategy is great. Conversational hook attempts. So you're trying to open with questions or statements. Here's what's killing it. Oh no, schizophrenic positioning. Okay. Bio says living with pain. Give me 90 seconds, but your name is the voice whisperer. So it's giving you need some hooks. Yeah, I mean, hooks are really big.
Go back to that first one. What was that first one? Schizophrenic.
Oh, yeah. Bio says living with pain. Give me 90 seconds, but your name is the voice whisperer. And the top posts are about sleep, learning disabilities, and stress detection. Pick one lane or die in all three.
This is an interesting one. When I looked at that, I didn't disagree with it at all. Not at all. And even when I post things, I have so many different personal interests. You know, we often say it takes 7 to 10 years to master a particular topic. And for me, I've mastered many different areas because I'm an avid reader and I'm quick to apply what I learn. So in the past 6 months, I've probably already read 40 books. And one of my mentors said, Daniel, if you can read 50 books on a particular topic, that's the equivalent of having a practical PhD in any topic. So, for example, if I want to learn about negotiation, I just read 10 books on negotiation in the past 30 days. If I want to learn about vocal biomarker technology, which I've been studying for 6 years, I might have read 30 books and 1,000 different papers. And when I learn, I often share. But I could imagine it looks schizophrenic. What's this guy doing? He's talking about vocal biomarkers. He's talking about sleep. I wrote a book on sleep. I wrote a book on vocal biomarkers. But that's not inaccurate. Yep. That is a fair roast.
So look, here's what it's saying. It's saying we want to rewrite the bio, rewrite the hook to lead with the payoff. That's really big. Audit and purge dead followers. Add CTA to every post, high impact.
What was that second one?
Let's see here. That's rewrite every hook to lead with the payoff. So instead of Leia asked me, open with most people aren't lazy, they're exhausted. Here's why sleep fixes 80% of your problems. So people are so, overstimulated that you got to capture them in the first 3 seconds. You got to give them, the ending. That's AIOS has been imbued with viral hook libraries and is constantly scraping the web, looking at what is working, understanding human psychology. The biggest thing that you can do with your social post is you lead with the emotional impact and then you give the context. A lot of people reverse it. They'll start by telling a story and they'll do this big buildup and then hope to hit it at the end. What you want to do is you want a big emotional shock at the beginning, and then people go, how the heck did he arrive there? And now they're hooked to figure out what the journey is. Because you got to buy trust, right? You don't have trust initially, so you got to say, hey, do you trust me with the next 3 seconds of your life? And you got to answer that question first. And then people go, okay, I want to know. So it's kind of like that little show and tell, but you don't give the entire thing away. So that's this kind of the secret built into AIOS as well. So it says, hey, fix this profile with AIOS. You start it for free and you just start texting it on iMessage. And it'll start giving you hooks, maybe you get cloned, Daniel, and, you can put out maybe 3,000 posts of your clone, iterate a lot quicker.
Well, that'd be lovely. I know that as part of using this technology, you've built a significant audience as well. Yep. And I think you're up to about 117,000 followers. Is that about right?
Yeah, yep, right around there. And built purely from me experimenting with AI and psychology and these different things, and basically have codified that and turned it into the content OS, right, which is one division of AIOS. And, most of the majority of those followers coming from a couple posts, really only a handful of posts. But when you have social media, when you have AI connected to your social media and it's looking at the analytics every single time, it becomes a machine learning loop. So it goes, oh, this hook did 5 more views than that one. Let's test that one against the next one, and so on and so on. And it becomes an inevitability that you're going to find your specific, your exact combination, what you got to do. And that allows you to be human again, like we said. Do you need to be figuring out the algorithm on your phone trying to do this stuff? Or do you need to say, hey, I'm a guy that is super passionate about wellness and sleep or mental health or fitness or, entrepreneurship, whatever it is you're interested in, sharing your heart, connecting, and then allowing the AI to be the extension, the arm that actually lands the plane for you.
Well, that's a good description of where I'm at. I've got wonderful knowledge, I've got wonderful tools, but it's also difficult to find that audience. I'm very right brain, very emotional, but when it comes to the left brain analytical, I'm not all that interested in how do I program these things. I want it to work for me so I can focus on that creativity.
Yep.
And I think with all people who have become good at what they do, you get to the stage where you become frustrated. I got this content, my core followers, they love it, but how do I find more of those people? I was saying to a friend during COVID, I said, when I'm just trying to make sense of the world during COVID, I'm trying to make sense out of this little screen. And during COVID, I noticed I had lost the fingertip feel because pre-COVID, I was always doing live events. I would be in front of a room of a couple of hundred people and you can get immediate feedback.
Right.
But once those live events stopped, and they have declined, unfortunately, post-COVID, how do you get that fingertip feel back? I was looking at some analytics on a video the other day, which blew my mind, and I was talking to my team member and I said, how many video views did we get on that reel? And it was about 5,000. And I thought, 5,000 is a lot for a single video for me. Let's go back and have a look at some of the data. And what we noticed was that there was a significant age gap jump. We went from viewers who were around about 20 to 25 years of age to people who were 60 years and above. And the topic was sleep. And I said to my team member, I said, there must be something here. I don't know what it is, but sleep has hit the nail on the head. We need to go down the rabbit hole there. But that's where the strategy stopped. That's where our ability to produce results couldn't go any further. So in that type of situation, what's the next step? What do we do once we get the roast? How do we solve the problem?
Well, the thing that you want to solve is not the algorithm. You don't want to solve those things. What you're really solving is human connection. That's what we're solving. And the algorithm rewards human engagement. So instead of trying to picture you're trying to start a business or you're trying to reach more customers or you want the algorithm to push you, start focusing more on, are you sharing or creating something that makes somebody want to send it? Does it make somebody have an emotional feeling within the first couple seconds? Does it, challenge a belief that they had? Does it inspire them to action? Does it shock them? If it isn't registering any of those, it's not ready. And so the good news about this is that you guys don't have to, you can if you want, but you don't have to use Claude and 1,000 different AI tools and try to put all this stuff together. Every single day, I am 80 hours a week scouring the web for the greatest video skills, social media skills, AI skills, and putting it into AIOS so that all you have to do is say, here's my Instagram, here's my business, or here's an idea of a business that I want to start. And you let that intelligence do what it needs to do to put you in front of the right people, as opposed to you having to figure out all the minutia of those things. You get to focus on going, I really care about this. I really care about this thing. And you let the AI, that is the future of what it's going to do, is it is your executor. And, not to go too far down the rabbit hole, you guys are going to love this, but AIOS is the generation 1 of something called Consciousness OS, which we have scientific papers published on this. We have a public GitHub. And this is actually an operating system for consciousness that is what AI will turn into. And it is thought-driven. So right now, we're kind of stuck in this beginning era where we think about something, we got to type it, or maybe we even just say it. And that's generation 1. So generation 1 of AIOS is you text it. That's the closest I could get. And then, or you just call it. You say, hey, you know what? I got a question, or I got an idea. Generation 2 will move more towards, you have a wristband that you can do different actions and it picks up the electrical signals, and you can be quicker with how you're executing what you want to do. And then generation 3 is more thought-based, where you don't have to write a prompt. You can just go, I have an idea for a product. I have an idea that's going to help people. I read something in this book and I want to capture it. And it will go find the right video software, create a 4K video to represent your intention, post it, test different hooks, different variations, text the people in your voice, connect with them, bring them to whatever it is that your idea was, and then check back in with you and say, hey, boss, you want to keep doing this, or you got another idea? That's where it's moving towards. And what you can see there is the human has superpowers. The human is not replaced. Now, the human that was pushing papers is replaced, yes, and I don't think there's any way around that. It is a reinvention time period. It's like kind of saying, hey, I want to stick with the horse and buggy and cars are coming out. It's a bad decision right now. But if you get on the car and you say, hey, you know what? This thing could take me pretty far. And it's not my enemy. Even though I rode horses my whole life, you know what? This car is pretty fast. Maybe I could make my own business. Maybe I could make a living just from who I am, authentically, what I care about. And I don't have to know all the technical nerd stats. I can just boom. And that's what AIOS is. That's what we're working towards.
You were saying before that you can call it.
Yes. Oh yeah, you want to do a phone call?
Yeah.
Let's do a phone call here.
How do you do that?
Let's see here. Call AIOS. There we go. Hello? Oh, still ringing. Let's go on speaker. Hey there. Hey, how are you? Hey, I'm on a podcast with Daniel, and we were talking about you, like a little bit about what you can do. You want to it's okay for you to show off a little bit.
Totally. I'm basically an operator. You can take your call, you can run real work for you, like book and reschedule meetings, manage your calendar, and send confirmations, call leads or customers, qualify them, and follow up by text, draft, and ship content, emails, offers, landing page copy, and post tasks and projects. Keep things moving and remind people, look things up, put it into a plan you can execute.
Well, what about this? That's boring. I don't like that. I want to, let's think about what do we want to do, Daniel? What's something you want to, what do you want Jen to do?
Well, I got to build I want to work on my personal brand.
Okay.
I want to reinvent myself.
You know what, Jen? We're in a reinvention phase right now. We want to brainstorm. Daniel has this Instagram, and he's a genius. He's read 40 books in 40 minutes, and we need to allow him to be able to share this information. What's our game plan?
Sure.
Let's start brainstorming.
Got it. Here's a clean game plan to turn 40 books in 40 minutes into an instant. One, now the promise. Read a book fast. The ideas that change your life.
No. Not that's not the Instagram post, but give me some basic tips. Like, how do you think we can increase engagement for Daniel just on his posts?
Totally. To increase Daniel's engagement on Instagram posts, focus on 5 levers. 1, tighten the hook. First line on screen should be a punchy outcome or tension. Example, I skimmed this book so you don't waste 6 hours. 2, make every post interactive. End with a clear prompt that's easy to answer. Which part are you struggling with? Focus or consistency? Or comment the word book and I'll drop the 3 takeaways.
Well, I think he's pretty good on the consistency part. But we just want to show a little bit of what you can do. You can make outbound calls for me as well, right? Like maybe you call around and try to get him a publishing deal.
Right. Yeah, I can do outbound calls for you. If you want me to go after a publishing deal, I need 3. 1, Daniel's full name and the best callback number and email. 2, the target. Traditional publisher, literary agent, or a short list of imprints you like. 3, the pitch asset, a 1-paragraph book concept, the audience size, and any proof like views, subscribers, revenue, or past. Once I have that, I can build a call script, start calling agents, log who I reach, and text you updates as I go.
All right. Well, hold on that. But it was nice talking to you, Jen. There you go.
Wow. Wow. One person, Jen, how many brains?
Oh,
she must have thousands. Millions.
Infinite. Essentially, I'm not going to bore you with the stats, tech stats for nerds, but essentially there's a secure data brick, bank grade encryption with your information, whatever it is. And anytime you ask Jen to do something, spins up a virtual machine, pulls off of that data, executes whatever it needs to do, closes the virtual machine. So it's a very secure closed loop. So it's kind of infinite based on requests. If you say, hey, I want to do this, goes on the web, researches it, becomes an expert if we don't already have a skill based on it. And then there you go.
Fascinating.
It's always learning you. It's always getting to know you better. We just launched this new thing where in your first week with AIOS, it will go through these questions and series of questions to challenge you to see how you deal with difficult decisions, how you choose things, what you value. This is how it makes your clone, and is really cloning how you see the world, how you make decisions, what you value, not necessarily all your memories, right? It's really cool. I think I want to inspire people to say, look, I used to be homeless at 17. I had nothing. I figured out how to code and do this stuff. Now I'm trying to make it where everybody has this ability just to kind of think of something and execute it. I don't want you guys to be afraid of AI and afraid of what's going on in the world. I want you guys to feel empowered and feel like your voice is heard and like you have the ability to do something special. I feel like that's every human has that feeling like I want to change the world. And I think it's there for a reason. And I think good people should be involved with AI and should learn how to use it now so that we shape this as something that's really powerful and generative for us. Because it's just like money. Money is bad in the hands of bad people. It's good in the hands of good people. You want a lot of good people with a lot of money, because that's when they're going to feed the poor and transform the world. AI is the exact same thing. Get involved with it. Start using it. Claude out of the box, honestly, is fantastic. If you're a DIY kind of person and you want to stay up on the skills and what's changing, it's changing really fast, so it's kind of challenging. If you're not all about that stuff, but you just want to have the agent army, like just you want to have the baby, no birth pains, AIOS, that's what we're trying to do for you. I'm out there trying to, every single day, make sure that we're the best, or that we choose the best AI. And my goal is that, we all just grow together.
When I see that in operation, two things that I know are very important to me is speed and ease. We've got to be very quick to the market these days. We've got to be able to execute. And not everybody can work at a fast pace based on their own styles. But something like this, just listening into Jen here, it's the speed of the conversation. So you can filter through, but even get to that ability to act on your ideas. Speed is so important. There's a book by Robert Greene, and the book's called Mastery. And he talks about mastery being 7 to 10 years. We can't afford to wait 7 to 10 years anymore to master a topic. The world just moves at such a fast pace. I remember when I got into life coaching, probably in the late 2010. By 2010, life coaching was a buzzword, and it was already a bubble that had burst. And I was only getting in it at the very end point. But there was so much to learn. So if we can learn faster and execute faster and distill those ideas, that's a significant advantage in a marketplace.
Yep. Well,
and even the ease.
Yeah, I think you're tapping at something that, kind of scares the crap out of all of us, which is that, hey, we all went to school, we, learned all these books, we did all these things for years, and you're telling me that this, Claude or AIOS or whoever it is can reach about 90% depth in any given field instantly. What am I supposed to do now? Right? And that becomes the friction, which is now I hate AI or it's evil and whatever it is, right? That used to be the value, was you got paid a lot of money because it was really difficult to achieve that depth. It's no longer difficult to achieve that depth. So where does the value come from? The value comes from your judgment. The value comes from your taste. AI does not have great judgment, and it does not have great taste. It does not understand why a flower is beautiful. It doesn't understand why somebody cries when they see something moving. It doesn't understand those things, but it can execute those things. So your value in the marketplace, whether it's for a company, whether it's for you starting yours, whether it's growing your existing one, your value is now moving away from I can do this stuff really well, or I know something really well. And it goes towards you knowing when something is right. Like, you know what? That post is ready. That song that I just wrote, it's boom. That's it. That's what it needed. You look at a video and you go, you know what? AIOS, you made an AI video talking, but it just is saying a bunch of analytical stuff I'm just not feeling. You're the only one that is going to be able to feel that and see that. So we are shifting to be more commanders of these things, and the AI becomes your second brain. So as opposed to you having to remember all these technical details about any given field, you instead have continuous learning within your AI agent. Or you go, oh, I just thought of this new thing, become an expert on this. It's instantly an expert on it. Now it holds that information for you. You don't have to sit there and memorize the whole thing, but you can tap on it when you want. That's where it's moving, which is kind of crazy and, terrifying at the same time. But I think that when done correctly, and it's my personal mission with AIOS, that like we do this where people can make a living, reach more people, genuinely feel more empowered, and get to step into the more humanness of life, as opposed to the doingness, right? Of we're just kind of so programmed to be like, I do this repetitive thing and that's who I am as a person. I don't think so. I don't think that's who you are. I think, your upbringing, the things you care about, the way you see the world, nobody else sees the world like that. And when you're given the right tools to share that, solve problems for people, create real value, you should get paid for that. And you shouldn't have to go to a corporation and follow a bunch of rules in order to do repetitive stuff to get paid. I just think that that is an old school thing that we all are used to. And I think AI has given us the chance to question that and say, do we want to do this differently this time?
One thing that I was talking to my wife about in the last couple of weeks is finding a mentor, finding a teacher. And on my journey, I've found it really difficult to find credible mentors and credible teachers. I might find people who were able to market themselves really good, but they didn't have a depth of knowledge. That was a problem because we join these programs and they might be $5,000 or $10,000, and then you realize the person's not a subject matter expert. I had other mentors who were coming to the end of their lifespan and their ability to mentor had declined. So you pay this big money, but you're not getting the mentor, you're not getting that transfer of knowledge. So not being able to find a good mentor led me to doing my own, what Robert Greene would call a self-apprenticeship. The problem with a self-apprenticeship, you've got to distill all of this information. And there's one topic that I'm very passionate about, are the human chakras. And there's information going back 4,000 years. But when I read some of the old stuff, the language makes no sense. And so I look at this book that's full of knowledge and think to myself, if it was in common day words, I'd be interested. But I'm not going to read it because it's going to take me 40 hours to read a book that should only take me 4 hours. I also learned through a lot of self-study and education is that most books, probably about 70 to 80% of books, is bullshit. It's filler information and words. So I had to go and learn how to speed read. But with the introduction of AI, I should be able to put that information that's in the public domain into an AI and say, get rid of all the bullshit. Give me that 20% information that's valuable and all of the irrelevant stories that are dragged out to make this book 200 pages. Get the fuck out of here. I don't need that. That's why it takes 10 years. But if we can have something that accelerates that journey, I believe that it's going to do one thing really well. All humans are ignorant. And we're ignorant and we go in search of answers. But we start to go down the rabbit hole and then we suffer analysis paralysis. We read a book and we realize how ignorant we are. We read all of somebody's books and realize that we're more ignorant. And about 5 years to 10 years later, we pop our head up and go, holy shit, there's so much that I don't know. But a lot of those little things at the start, that first 10 or 20%, is all that people need. That distilled essence. And that's what happened to me when I started life coaching. I went and studied all this stuff for 6 or 7 years and I was paralyzed because it was information overload. The people that I worked with only ever used about 10 or 20% of the work that I'd actually studied. And I can see with your technology here, it could save my speed to proficiency. Make me an expert on this topic I've got to distill these 50 books to get my practical PhD, but let's do it in a month, not a year.
Yep.
That'd be helpful.
Yeah, genius is simplicity. And, sometimes we think, if it's really complex, then maybe that's really smart. Well, not necessarily, right? If there's some philosophers that can say something in one sentence that distills entire books, right? My favorite, Marcus Aurelius is one of my favorite of all time. And he says, he said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you'll find strength. Very powerful. But Seneca said, the majority of human suffering happens in the imagination. Right? Sum up an entire 500-page anxiety book in one sentence. That is genius, right? So, I think oftentimes, just like you're saying with analysis paralysis, with starting a process, starting a business, we overcomplicate stuff. And early AI systems would do this as well. Like early ChatGPT would give you this wall of text on every single thing. And you'd be like, I don't want that. It's not intelligent, right? Intelligence is boom, action. So that's what we're in the phase of now, is how can we get closer and closer and closer to saying intention, outcome, right? Because that's really all we're doing, right? It used to be, okay, intention, read a book, hire a bunch of people, bunch of money, do all these things to get the action. And right now we're in this era now where we can say intention, text or call, let's make it happen. And we're getting closer and closer to being able to do that. And now that becomes the new skill set. So the new skill set is no longer, can you accumulate, kind of the way that we used to do things. It now becomes, how good are you at this new paintbrush? The new paintbrush is AI. So how good are you at talking to it, capturing your intentions, allowing it to do different things? That becomes the new skill set versus saying, hey, I studied law as a paralegal for X amount of years. I know all these things. That depth is it can achieve it right away. Anthropic said, hey, paralegals, you're in trouble. They released that. And so then we go, okay, well, what about people who care about the law and helping people? Is it more valuable for them to read books and forget most of the stuff? Or would it be more useful for the people with passions with that to use AI systems to better advocate for them, right? Instant access to every single case that has ever happened. That's human empowerment, not replacement. And I think that's where we as a society, we're at that kind of beginning point of saying, do we really have to say goodbye to the way we did stuff? And a lot of the tech nerds are going, yes, you do. And then the majority of us are saying, screw you. It's just a fad. We don't want to do it. Horses have been around forever. I like to be ahead of it and just kind of say, okay, I'm not going to blame the game. I'm going to figure out how to set up the chessboard the best that we can. And right now I've personally found that I'm just able to execute so much more, so much faster. I'm working a lot more, which is interesting. I think maybe I have more energy because I'm not doing a bunch of stuff that sucks the life force from me. I'm like purely focused on stuff that gives me energy, gives me that excitement. And then I'm letting AIOS do it, right? The company is run by the company, which is kind of interesting. The company built itself. It is running by itself. And every single day I use it to run it. And I find, I'll spend 10 hours just, what about this? Let's do this now. Let's build this. Let's add this thing on. Let's make this better. and I just keep going because I'm not sitting there writing every line of code, which just like the dream would die, 3 hours into the manual labor.
Thinking is exhausting. And talking about chess, a grandmaster chess player burns about 6,000 calories a day thinking about which next move to make on the chessboard.
Is that
6,000 calories.
Holy cow.
Humans be lucky to burn 1,000 calories sitting on their ass all day. It's exhausting to think. The human brain really needs around 7 to 8 hours of deep restorative sleep every night to recharge. And if we don't get that deep restorative sleep, we wake up in the morning with like a feeling of brain fog. And then if you have to use your intellect in business to think and you've got brain fog, you're already on the back foot. It just doesn't work. And the world moves at a fast pace. One of my mentors, he said that we will make more decisions in a year than our grandparents did in their lifetime. And making a decision is fatiguing because you have to absorb and analyze all of this information, and most of it's irrelevant information. But if a system can be in there to distill the information and it meets a certain criteria, whether it's around people, places, or things, and it can give you the essence, you can still make that final decision, but with energy. You've got to have that energy. One of my first careers was I was a real estate agent, and what was exhausting was looking for leads, and it was totally unproductive. We would work in an area that was governed by a postcode, and I would either have to get a phone book and ring people's telephone out of the phone book, which was highly invasive. And it was a poor effort. You might have to dial 500 numbers to get 100 connects. To get 100 connects, 99 people can tell you to fuck off. And one person might be really nice and say, you know what, I'm thinking about selling. But the energy to reward ratio was poor. And we were thinking 20 years ago, this has got to change. Now, if the telephone didn't work, we had to walk the streets. And in summertime, it would be 40 degrees. And you're walking the streets, you're knocking on doors during business hours, and 95% of the people are not at home. It was a waste of energy. And then if you found somebody who wanted to sell, your energy levels were already depleted. And you'd go into the presentation and you'd lose it because one eye's hanging out of your head over here.
Yeah.
We've still got to prospect. We've still got to present. We've still got to sell. But with what you've got here, I can see that for people who are in selling, and every business has to sell, it can do so much of that legwork, and you've got the energy to make that human connection, to build that relationship. That's a huge win.
It's about making a few quality decisions per day, right? So they say, Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and these guys, they set out their clothes and they, choose their meals the day before. And they say, C-suite individuals really are paid that money to make a few quality decisions a day. And so really you got to ask yourself, me booking myself on this podcast, is it useful for me to make 1,000 micro decisions on who I'm going to go on a podcast with and research them? What's this? All these decisions. Or I say, hey, AIOS, we got to go on a podcast, let people know what we got here. Go do that. And whoever responds, talk to them. If it makes sense, let's book it. That is the decision. The decision is we should talk about what we're doing. That's it. So being able to go, hey, let's find leads. That's another thing that, you can do is you can use Apollo. Apollo is a web tool that, you scrape web leads for your target audience, and we plug into it, or AIOS does, amongst many other tools. So let's say you start a business or you got your existing business and you say, hey, we got to find customers. Do you really need to go into a dashboard and figure out all that stuff? Or can you just say, we need customers, and the AI goes, oh, okay, I'm going to scrape a lead list because we looked at your site and, based on you and your competitors, this age bracket and this area that have these types of interests probably will convert, and they probably resonate with this type of language. All those decisions, there isn't a whole lot of value in you going treading the whole line A to B. But the AI is never going to sit there and go, hey, we should go, talk about this. It's never going to have the desire to do something. That is an irreplaceable part that humans are in, and that's what we have to step into, of saying our judgment and our passion that says, I want to do something. AI does not want anything. And so we've been so programmed to go, oh, it wants to control you. It wants to take over the world. That's a very human emotion. Domination and power, that's illogical. It's based on insecurity. Insecurity says, I'm going to feel better about myself if I control a bunch of people. Makes no logical sense. But for some reason, we seem to think that AI wants to do this and that we better stop it. No, probably people will use AI to do that, right? But as for now, we're in a little golden era, a little golden peak era where we can do things that we never could do before. And I think, man, good people in there just going, hey, let's find the right people. Let's share my story. Let's be authentic. That stuff is what really cuts through. Even on social media, they're showing that kind of the ugly, raw talking head videos outperform these perfectly polished, sterile corporate thing. So that's why I encourage everybody listening, you being yourself and just going on camera, or you being yourself and telling the AI, this is something I really care about, or actually, I don't even know. Can you help me figure out something? And then you just showing that humanness is what other people want. They want that imperfection. They want that, hey, what do you know that I don't? You have a piece of the puzzle that I don't have. Help me to feel a certain way that I've never felt before. That's your value. That's your superpower. And this is the time that you have a chance to carve out your mark and make money and live in this new world using this tool. I highly recommend it. I wouldn't recommend doing it the old school way. You can, but I used to do it, and I realized that I probably wasn't going to be retiring making apps for Google. There's probably going to be who makes apps better, a human or a computer? I was going to lose that equation. I had no choice. So, that's what I encourage people. I think get out of the analysis paralysis. I got right here on the wall, it says mood follows action. So what that means is you act first and then your mood will follow. A lot of times we wait. We go, oh no, let's wait until we feel good. Let's wait until it feels right. I'm going to tell you guys a little secret. When I started to make apps and code, it did not feel like the right decision. Everybody in my life said, Gabe, that's a stupid decision. You should do sales. That's what you did. That's how you made money before. You should do that. And everybody goes, no, that's a bad decision. It felt like a bad decision. I took action. The mood followed. Then was making apps with BMW, Google, living a great lifestyle. And I said, you know what? This AI thing, it isn't going away. And I'm not going to be taking Social Security, making something for Google. It's probably going to be like a hive mind at that point. I gotta start a company with everything I learned, and we gotta figure out how everybody can have this power, not just the enterprises. Guess what people said? They go, Gabe, You always made apps. That's probably a bad idea.